Throughout its long tradition, it has functioned as a laboratory for social and technological developments. From the ancient ideas of the poetic forum, the next slide, please. From the ancient ideas of the poetic forum, Aristotle, to the classical understanding of moral institution by Schiller, theater has represented a space in which current social issues were negotiated in the interplay between performers and spectators. Technology has always been an essential component of this, both as a tool and as a subject of performance practice itself, and has thus written its own history of the effect of machines. Even in ancient times, the display of automata served as a testing ground for technological advancements. In Spectacular Machines, Daniel Strasberg describes the performance of new devices as an early form of technological assessment. Early forms of steam engines, like the one behind me by Harold of Alexandria, rope pulleys, and illusion techniques were not first tested in workshops or universities, but on theater stages and presented to audience. Thus, the audience became a resonating body. Their reactions, whether fascination, enthusiasm, or fear, provided inventors with useful feedback and insights into possible adjustments and optimizations. Next slide, please. As early as the 18th century, deception and illusion were intervened with technological feasibility, development, and innovation. Even though the automata were ultimately sophisticated tricks, they nevertheless raised essential questions about the relationship between humans and machines. What happens when machines begin to imitate human abilities? What work can be delegated to automata, and where must control be maintained at all costs? Theater not only presented these innovations, but also dramatized them. New machines were embedded in complex productions, placed in stories and context that explained them, problematized them, and put them up for discussion. Thus, the theater was not only a forum for amazement, but also a place of conversation, providing insights that continue to have an impact on our technologized present. On stage, the performance not only made the functionality of machines visible, but also opened a few of the social technical reality. Next slide, please. The question that theater has been raising for centuries are more relevant than ever in light of the development of artificial intelligence and call for a critical spirit in technology research. AI often appears to us as a black box operated by multinational players, a system that transforms input into output without us understanding how it works. The philosopher Yukui therefore calls for enlightened technology development that focuses on visibility and transparency. This is precisely where theater offers a model, a practice that demystifies devices, reveals their mechanisms, and thus makes them accessible to collective negotiation. Next slide, please. You see behind me the installation Seed Potato Pixel compares the collective search for food behaviors between ants, humans, and artificial intelligence. If theater is a place for observing and assessing technology, then we can also learn from the characteristics of performance itself. Every app, every algorithm, and every technical application performs and produces social practices. They reinforce certain behaviors, amplify some, and suppress others. Bernhard Stiegler emphasizes that technological development too never occurs in isolation, but is always embedded in social practices that provide the foundation for any given system. Therefore, we must situate technology and its development in a reciprocal cycles, understanding their emergence as grounded in a complex interplay of multiple actors and institutions, as well political and economic contexts that warrant closer examination. By its very nature, performance is transdisciplinary, always medially intervened and collectively organized. As a Gesamtkunstwerk, it creates a multimedia moment of encounter that Erika Fischer-Lichter describes as an autopoietic feedback loop between actors and audience. Meaning arises through interaction in the process of reactions and counter-reactions. It becomes evident that meaning and knowledge do not arise once, but iteratively in a process of constant feedback. Performance theory thus offers a descriptive horizon for complex and recursive cultural and social processes. One that enables us to understand technology as a becoming, as an emergent process shaped by multiple factors. It also sensitizes us to questions of power. The performative gaze is an analytical stance that make visible the political dimensions often obscured by discourses of technological maturity. Technology is never innocent. Just as performance reveals the apparatus of theater, the performative perspective can reveal power relations embedded in technical systems. Unlike the 18th century, we now live in a significantly technologized world where technological agents encounter and mediate almost every aspect of our daily lives. Technology has transcended its role as merely a tool or subdomain evolving into autonomous, self-referential and philosophical domain of inquiry, while remaining inseparable from cultural, economic and political forces. To research technology today means not only to observe the machine, but to describe it in terms of its performativity, its staging, enactment, and social embedding. In what follows, three essential characteristics of performance will be examined more closely and applied to the study of so-called artificial intelligence. Eventfulness. Performance is always an event. It only exists in the moment of its happening. It arises in the simultaneity of production and reception, in the unpredictable co-presence of performers and audience. What constitutes the liveness of performance is the supposedly unmediated experience where it is precisely the imperfections, interruptions, and deviations that expose the fragility of the system and affirm its presence in the here and now. In the context of AI, this can be taken to indicate the errors and breakdowns reveal important insights. The glitch, to use Legacy Russell's words, expose the logic of the system. Systemic failures, such as the racist or fascistic statements of Elon Musk Grok, or the infamous hallucinations of the large language models, LLMs in general, do not merely point to technical flaws. They expose the ideological assumptions of developers, the limitations of datasets, and the structural biases inscribed in systems of data collections. At the same time, errors are not only critical entry points, but also provoke fascination, anxiety, humor, and even intimacy, producing effective responses that shape how people engage with AI. Viewed from a performative gaze, what engineering dismisses as malfunction can transform into a productive moment of critical reflection as well as an effective event. For AI research, this means we must understand AI as eventful, as something that constructs reality in real time, with all its ruptures, unpredictabilities, and affective intensities. Studying system errors within a broader cultural and political frame generates new insights into technology itself. Embodiment and materiality. Performance places the body at the center. Knowledge is embodied, situated, and partial. As Donna Haraway reminds us, meaning it is always produced from a specific position, shaped by context, and never from a view of totality. The performative gaze makes this corporeality and situatedness usable for technology research. In cultural imaginary, that often portrays AI as an immaterial, it can remind us that AI is not just a code, it is service, data centers, water use, energy consumption, rare earth minerals, and the working conditions of those who label, clean, and moderate data. Lee Caldery and Ulysses Machias call this process data colonialism. Data is extracted, collected, and exploited like raw resources, comparing it explicitly to the unlawful appropriation of land. While this comparison may appear drastic, it underscores the material condition that underpin both the use and development of AI systems. As you remember, extends this discussion by showing how digital capitalism builds new infrastructures of capture that reach into everyday life, expropriating human existence itself. In his view, these technologies do not replace colonial violence, but coexist and intensify it, producing new forms of domination while reinforcing older ones. By drawing our attention to the fact that AI is dependent on the mediation of bodies, territorial, human, machinic, and institutional, a performative gaze thus enables us to move beyond metaphors of virtuality and confront the corporeal political substrate of AI systems. Collaboration and collectivity. Theatre is ensemble work. It cannot exist without the collaboration of many actors, directors, dramaturgs, stagehands, and technicians, and ultimately neither without the presence of the audience. Movements of the 20th century, such as Fluxus or feminist performance, first dismantled the myth of solitary genius, foreground collective authorship. The same holds true for AI. No system is the work of a single inventor. Its operations emerge from collective processes of knowledge, data, and practice, what Felix Stadler calls the essence of the digital good. According to Erika Fischer-Lichters, the very being of performance is collective. Drawing on Judith Butler, she emphasizes that this collectivity is not just the presence of many people on stage, but the recognition that subjectivity is always enacted in a shared field, produced in relation, rather than as the expression of a single source. Both theatre and AI demonstrate that what appears as individual agency is always relational. The actor performs a role only in relation to others, and so too AI does. Not embody autonomous intelligence, but stages these operations as a collective process. Seen through performative gaze, both can be understood as relational events in which subjectivity is enacted. Next slide, please. In parallel to the theoretical framing, before technologies like AI can be understood more clearly through performative engagement. By staging and reenacting them, it becomes possible to reveal their more elusive realities and potential, including effects and affects that often remain unconscious, overlooked, or ignored. Our research platform, New Practice in Design and Computational Master Program, run by the University of the Arts Berlin and the Technical University Berlin, are formed through projects, teaching, and shared infrastructures. They serve as a platform to test and rethink methods in response to technical and societal transformations. Our approach is thus not characterized by a fixed methodology, but by a commitment to collective inquiry into the cultural, political, and epistemic implications of new technologies. And behind me you see the infrastructures of our institutes at the campus, and the dotted arrow is, shows our studio at the campus. The following case studies illustrate our work in investigating the workings and effects of AI systems through performative approaches. Next slides, please. In his masterwork, Ocean Flight, Johnny Bixbonger staged a collaborative performance environment combining dance, music, and game engine technologies to create an experimental hybrid setting, examining contemporary forms of digital self-expression. Ocean Flight explored how avatars and online identities embody trans-individual processes, revealing the tension between embodied performance and its digital projection. Next, please. The imaginary intelligence chatbot in real time and appeared. A chatbot responded in real time and appeared as a 3D talking head. Unlike commercial role-playing bots designed for isolated one-to-one exchanges, the work situated a virtual interaction within a collective event. The chatbot was not presented as an object of fascination or simulated intimacy, but as a performative device, a placeholder for a relational void occupied by the machine's presence. The AI character operated as a pretext for observing when and how attention shifted from the machinic presence back toward the collective. On the other side, making visible that recognition emerges through shifting attention and shared framing rather than from the system itself. It's interesting. Erstaufnahme, initial reception for refugees, this is the next slide, yes, by Sarah Omar, Senna Dogan, and Manuel Sim, is an interactive audiovisual installation that examines how border regimes instrumentalize speech biometrics as tools of exclusion and control. Rather than asserting technological neutrality, Erstaufnahme reveals the opacity and racializing logics embedded in the system. In doing so, it not only reflects on the mechanics of classification, but also on the way AI more broadly mystifies its operations, concealing the historical, political, and material conditions that govern it. Next, please. Okay, behind you see the ACV drawing turns into a co-creative process in which the human hand and the robotic mechanism engage in a shared act of composition. The main point of showing you these selected examples of our practical trials and performative inquiries into AI systems is not so much to abstract out of them some neatly generalizable findings about technology. Crucially, it is neither to demonstrate exemplary ways in which theatre, or more broadly performance as an art form, can use and incorporate AI to its own effects. Rather than asking what performance can learn and stands to gain from technologies like AI, that is, we propose, as given away right from the start by the title of this talk, to ask the inverse, and in our estimation, much more interesting and possibly rewarding question. What can the development and research into technologies like AI learn from performance? Or to put it in slightly different terms, what do we as researchers, practitioners, collectively confronted with and affected by technologies like AI, while at the same time conscious or unconsciously, albeit ever so slightly, shaping their future meanings and trajectories, both through our everyday uses of them and through art, research and politics. What do we stand to gain from adopting performative methods and approaches in confronting these technologies? Finally, the task of technology research is not only to analyze how AI performs, but also to imagine alternative stagings, employing performance both as a theoretical frame of reference and as a practical medium of and methodology. Research can foreground practices that cultivate situated, collective and fair forms of technological life, rather than reproducing extractive logics that collapse multiplicity into sameness. Next slide, please. Thank you.